Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to apologize if my sound is off at all. I'm not quite sure of the difference, but I'm using my phone to record today for this video, which is not a book video, by the way. So if you don't want to watch something not about books, then I would turn it off. But I didn't want to drag out my camera. I can't see myself in my camera, so I can't ever tell if I'm in focus. And so I really wanted to use my phone to just watch myself and make sure that I'm in focus at all times because, I don't know. And I didn't want to drag out the camera. So anyways, I thought that I would just make a video about why I chose to homeschool my children. I know when I was in the research phase of homeschool, which I obsessively did, I think a lot of homeschool families do that when they're trying to decide, or I did at least. I mean, up until 2 a.m. researching math curriculums for 5 years from now. I mean, somehow you find yourself doing that. So I like watching videos just about why people chose to homeschool and how they came to that decision, and I thought that I would just give my perspective and why I chose it for my kids, just to offer something up a little bit different, because I feel like our reasons our reasons are our own, so they're going to be different in some respect than anybody else's. So let me back up a little and start with a story. When my daughter, who is now 8, my oldest daughter, was 4 years old, that's when the first seed of homeschooling was planted in my mind, because we lived in Florida at that time, and in Florida, all 4-year-olds can go to preschool for free, and I did not want her to go to preschool. I didn't go to preschool, so I didn't really see a need for it, but I decided to send her because if you're living somewhere where all 4-year-olds can go to preschool for free, then that kind of puts it in your mind that if you keep your child out of preschool and all other 4-year-olds are going, then when they're in kindergarten, where will your kid be? Behind, maybe. And I didn't want that to happen. And I kind of feel like that's a tricky way of making you send your kid to preschool when you would rather not and just wait for them to start in kindergarten, but that's a whole nother thing that I'm not going to get into. So I ended up sending my daughter to preschool, but the week leading up to her going, I was a procrastinator and I didn't get our paperwork in very fast. So initially we thought she did not have a spot. They told us they didn't have a spot for her. So I all of a sudden started researching homeschooling because I didn't want her to be behind for kindergarten. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to homeschool her, preschool homeschooler, so she won't be behind when she starts kindergarten. So in a very short amount of time, I bought a curriculum and I was reading about it and reading all this stuff that I hadn't planned on reading, and it really pushed me to do that. And then, of course, I got a phone call by the end of the week that a spot had opened up and she could go. So after that, homeschooling left my mind. Not completely, though. Not completely. And then let's fast forward to last year. My daughter was in first grade. And again, homeschooling had been in the back of my mind since that initial rush of research when she was 4. And so it became just more of an option as the years went by. It was always back there as something that we could do. I could choose to do. And I, just so you know, if I keep referring to I, it's because my husband was totally hands off with that decision. He said it was completely up to me to homeschool or not. So if I just keep referring to it as my decision, it's because it was. I'm principal and teacher, main head teacher, whatever you want to call it. We don't have titles here, but you get the picture. So fast forward to her being in first grade here, where we live now. And she was always a really good student in school. She did very well. She listened well. She did really good with her reading and math. I mean, she was ahead in some respects on certain things. Like, she was a good student. So I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. That wasn't a reason why we homeschooled. She wasn't falling behind. That's a reason why a lot of people choose to homeschool, which are perfectly valid reasons, is either the school isn't meeting the needs of your child academically, like they're bored, they need more, or they're falling farther and farther behind because they just need more time learning something. Because when they're starting school, I mean, there's this huge age gap between people in the same classroom. I feel like one of the reasons my daughter did very well is because she would turn the higher age at the beginning of the school year, whereas you had kids that wouldn't turn the higher age until spring or even summer after that year had ended. And so, I mean, that's a huge gap. The younger the kid, the bigger the gap between months and birthdays. I feel like you guys get what I'm saying here. So she was more ready, just simply because she was an older child in her classes. She was one of the older kids. So I feel like that was just a natural advantage that she had. So she did really well in school. But then I noticed she was coming home from school. Sorry, my camera cut out. But where was I? She was coming home from school and she would be so stressed, you know, she'd be crying. And one of the biggest things I didn't like is they had homework. I mean, from the time that my daughter started public education, she would come home with homework as a kindergartner, as a preschooler, but really, especially as a kindergartner, and then again as a first grader. Was it not that much homework? Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit, but even a little bit, I mean, I think of school, you know, if your kid is going to public school, I think of it as being their job, their career. So my child was going for 8 hours a day. She was putting in her time, and then she would have to bring work home. And I know that a lot of other families will sympathize with me on this, but we didn't have that much time together. You know, my child would come home pretty late in the day. There would be barely any daylight left for her to play. The evening time is crunch time with dinner and chores and dishes, and thank goodness we didn't have any activities to go do. I don't even know how you guys manage that. I don't know. That's beyond my comprehension. You guys are superstars that have a lot of activities that you have to go to after school and still fit in homework and stuff. I don't even know what that looks like or how that works. So I really felt like she had all this unnecessary stress. And then last year is when it really started to become a sticking point in my mind. And it's funny too that I'm coming up with all these reasons, because when anyone just asks me, why did you choose to homeschool? You know, a neighbor or something comes over and asks me, my go-to answer is because we wanted to, because I wanted to try it out. And that is the main reason. You don't have to have this huge reason. Nothing traumatic has to really happen. Your kid doesn't have to be falling behind in school or experiencing bullying and stuff. Those are all valid reasons, and a lot of people choose to homeschool because of those reasons, but that didn't happen to us. She actually did really well in school, and that was a thing that I really struggled with too, which I wanted to point out that it's okay. I'm just giving permission here, just in case anyone needs to hear it. It's okay to pull your kids out of school, even if they're really good in school, and even if they like it generally, because she generally liked it, my daughter did, and even if they're doing excellent and they're a good student, it's still okay to pull them out and try homeschool. That was a thing that really stressed me out, and I shed a lot of tears over it and spent a lot of nights worrying about it this past summer when it was leading up to my final decision. And one of the main things too that I did was talk to my daughter. She was 7 years old at the time, and I discussed it with her. What did she want to do? Would she be open to homeschooling, and what would she hope to get out of homeschool that maybe she couldn't get in public school. I know a lot of people maybe don't consider talking to their kids or asking their opinion about it because they consider it completely their decision, and ultimately it is. But for me, it was really important to talk to my daughter and get her involved in the decision. If she had been adamantly against homeschooling, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. Let's just put it that way. But anyways, so those are the reasons why I personally chose to homeschool. I know a lot of people do it for religious reasons. That wasn't a thing for me. I didn't feel like she was really experiencing anything negative from peers or anything. And I want to go ahead and say too, before I end this and anyone lights me on fire, I have the greatest respect for teachers. We need public schools and we need good teachers, and the teachers that my daughter had when she was in public school were great. I had no issues with the teachers. Her first grade teacher last year even told me, she said, I hate assigning them homework, but my hands are tied. She didn't like it. She didn't like what she was having to do. And that was a big clue for me, to really consider this whole homeschooling thing. And so far, it's been working out really well. And before I end this, it just popped in my head. One of the last main reasons that I chose to homeschool my kids is to not be a slave to the schedule and have them have more unstructured playtime, outdoor time, and time spent in nature, exploring their own interests is very, very important to me. We get our school stuff done and out of the way pretty early in the day. And that's one of the main reasons I chose to do this. I love that my kids can then pursue their interests. They engage in a lot of imagination type play. They're outside so much more than if they were in a building all day. They get so much more just sunlight and nature time, and they get to really pursue what they're interested in. They get to weave and sew and paint. I mean, they drag out their paints all the time and just get to do that kind of stuff. And that's just really important to me. As a parent, that's something that I value, is free, unstructured, undirected playtime, and I could provide that for them by homeschooling them. And so, yeah, those are the reasons why I chose to homeschool my kids, which I didn't even know I had so many reasons until I started making this video. So this was sort of like a self-reflection exercise for me. So thank you, YouTube therapy, my YouTube therapist. I thank you for this. I hope this wasn't too confusing for you, and I hope it had some value for someone watching this. If you needed that push, or you just needed more perspective, you just need someone to give you permission to just be like, you know what? I wanna, so I'm gonna. Because at the end of the day, just do what you feel like. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. I'm gonna end that there before I continue to ramble aimlessly. And again, I hope someone out there enjoyed this and gained something from it. And I will talk to you guys again soon.